Oh, hello. I was just trying to coax some flowers to grow in the crevices of this rock. My name is Ed Trotta. I'm the artistic director for the Summit Stage 2 Theater, an experimental branch of the Alliance for the Arts. And right now I'm sitting on a rock in my backyard because it's a beautiful spring day. And I just said now, didn't I? That may seem an irrelevant term given this medium of communicating. After all, it may not be spring when you see this. It might not be daytime. Odds are greatly against you being outdoors. And yet, now is a pertinent term because as a theater director, I'm always having to be concerned with that. In the theater, it's the only place that you get to see now in a live performance. And yet, the Summit Stage 2 has always been dedicated to filming its major productions as an outreach program to export them, primarily these being adaptations of classic literature from around the world, Animal Farm, Moby Dick, and mostly to educators who want to share such classics in this way. So even though it is 2010 and we are being offered three-dimensional films, the promise of 3D TV, perhaps even the prospect of holographic imaging giving us our favorite actors in our very living rooms, it is still the theater that will always be the only medium that can hold for a laugh, or a tear, or a gasp, or a sigh, because it can hear you, it senses you, and can respond. I think you'll agree that in the clips you're about to see, that the audience presence is palpable. And I think this element is the result of our effort to wed the lens with the stage, to unite the two mediums. I'll try not to say too much while you watch these segments because I do believe that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but I hope you'll promise that you will read the insert that came with this DVD, just for the details of them. And that insert is the folded piece of paper that was tucked into the plastic case. Did you put it on this TV or am I on a computer monitor? Is that it on the coffee table or desk or is it in your hand? Animal Farm was the ideal project to inaugurate Summit Stage 2's specialty of stage adaptations. The cast size and age range is flexible, so I was able to say to anyone who wanted to participate in this production, welcome to the farm.
Late into the night they debated, voted, and finally agreed on the 7 commandments by which all the animals of Animal Farm would live forever after. Then they all settled down, sang Beasts of England from end to end 7 times running, and slept as they had never slept before.
All men are enemies. All animals are friends. And all animals are equal.
Not everyone knew what they were getting into, though. The journey the animals take in this story is physically very demanding, emotionally challenging, and simply quite rigorous.
No animal shall kill another animal. Without cause.
I adapted this play as faithfully as possible, leaving its interpretation open to classroom or dinner table discussion. My only private twist was that I had the few humans who do appear wear masks, so that the climax, the last 30 seconds of the play, is the first and only time we see a naked face.
They all looked from pig to man, and from man to pig. and from pig to man again. But already it was impossible to say which was which.
Bravo, Holmes, bravo.
Thank you, Watson.
Oh, it was superb, Holmes. Incomparable. You have surpassed yourself.
It was a pure joy to perform as Sherlock Holmes in the case of the Yuletide Puzzle. I found the perfect Watson in John Feuchtenberger, and expanding the script to include the local choir as live carolers, as well as the minor characters of Mrs. Hudson and Mycroft, proved a very fortunate discovery. I spent a good amount of time devising the actual puzzle, the cryptogram itself, and it's a doozy. But I spent much more time on the relationship between Holmes and Watson.
He asked how you were finding the consulting detective business, and I told him I thought you found it lacking for lack of any inscrutable mystery to truly challenge your faculties. You don't suppose that...
No, Watson, I don't suppose. I'm absolutely certain that I have you to thank every bit as much as Mycroft for this wonderful puzzlement.
The play's central action is giving. Simple gifts, such as coins to carolers, a fountain pen, a magnifying glass.
The goose!
Other gifts are more profound. Understanding, surrender, care. At one point, Watson challenges Holmes, to which he replies, "You are my friend, Watson, and the only one with whom I dare to trifle in this way, you see, because I am assured that no matter how deeply I probe into the details of your daily existence, I shall never be required to deduce anything more horrible than goodness. You have no idea how dependent I've become on that rare security, old fellow." This is the essence of the play, and the reason that I think it does work well for almost any community theater. The Head Shop is Summit Stage 2's short film offering. I'll refer you to the insert to see what it's about, besides being a recognition to one of my personal inspirations, Rod Serling, for his morality, humor, and surprise. Primarily, it served to explore our cinematic capabilities for a few more ambitious projects ahead. I recall the job. It's just... Mrs. Longstrom, did you remove his head while he was asleep? Within centers, there are centers, and centers within those, centers within those. This study is ongoing. Have you been altering your consciousness? Any recent substance abuse? It's all right. My permit allows me client confidentiality. My advice is that you spend some time with this literature, look it over. I want to work with you, I do, but you have to understand the limitations of what I can do.
So, what's the matter with you?
It's a common procedure for these days.
Did you mean for someone our age?
My hat.
Oh, no, yes, look. He needs me. Yes, we're finished. Nothing that a little human kindness can do 10 times better. Vaudeville at the Summit was my idea to present an all-out crowd pleaser. It provided a field day for the local talent, drew them out, and reminded the steady patrons of the Summit Theater that there's nothing wrong with light fare or flat-out entertainment.
What are you looking for?
Well, to see him, of course. What kind of a question is that? Happy
Good day, citizens.
2 miles a penny has been my one-man specialty since 2003. I'll let these clips speak for themselves, but ask again that you refer the insert for details about it.
This is not false modesty. When Stephen Douglas, in the midst of a debate, accused me of being two-faced, I replied almost without hesitation, if I were two-faced, would I be wearing this one? Yet Shakespeare describes this age, this time of life, as being that of the lover. So what was the cause of the war which claimed approximately 623,000 lovers? Was it slavery? States' rights, inalienable rights, the great American experiment? See, all these issues wound about each other as inseparably as skeins of hemp coiled into a hangman's noose, threatening to execute this nation for the crime of hypocrisy. Clearly, slavery was the least subtle ingredient. Well, it was relatively black and white. Now, the point I wanted to make here is that I don't believe it's wise to so elevate someone whom you wish to honor in remembrance. For to do so deprives that individual of something I consider essential to greatness, which is the overcoming of human weakness, ignorance, frailty, fear. Gods don't fear. Legends don't hunger. Nor do I imagine either are likely to tremble at the prospect of a decision they have to make. No, rather than exit, I would much prefer to melt, to dissolve into the mass of your humanity like salt into boiling water. That's my experience now, to be preserved in your collective consciousness as part of your history and legend. And so Lincoln has departed. Abe has left the building, but he isn't gone. No, as long as there's a United States, he'll never be gone.
I don't have an MO as an actor, director, or teacher. Every role is different, every play has its inherent problems, and every actor has his or her strengths and weaknesses. Some characters are best served by discovering external elements, such as a physical deformity, having to wear cheap suits or false teeth, or simply having a furrowed brow from worrying to excess. For example, in the case of my rendition of Friar Lawrence in Romeo and Juliet, evidence of some neurological damage due to self-experimentation with his herbs. Other roles offer few, if any, clues in this regard, and are best performed by prioritizing the inner conflicts, the subtext.
Remember your vow, sister. You have made 90 loaves by yourself so far.
Of course, all character study involves both considerations, but I've never met an actor who works solely from one school of thought, and I've directed actors from all schools of thought, discovering that it basically boils down to a difference in language to reach that wonderful experience of behaving as if another person in another situation.
Go, get thee gone, thou foul-saluting slave, that feedest me with the very name of meat. Sorrow on thee and all the path of thee that triumph thus upon my misery. Go and get thee gone, I say.
All right.
If I had to title my approach to instruction in the craft of acting, I'd call it the snowflake school of thought, which is to say that no two are alike. I don't insist that anyone adopt my process as an actor, and I invest heavily in the old joke, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice.
Comic book.
Okay, it's a comic book. What's the problem with that?
You still need pictures.
What?
You don't have a good imagination, so you still need pictures.
I truly believe that it is largely a matter of logging hours on the stage that provides the essence of finding one's way on the stage. And so my workshops begin with a 20-minute introduction of this philosophy that I've just described, after which actors are paired with scenes I've provided and begin reading with each other, listening to each other, and performing for each other with comments from each other. I keep them working and on their feet. They had a new scene to perform every session and never stopped learning to act.
Thank you.
Moby Dick is the most recent of Summit Stage 2's stage adaptations, I treasured the process of working with my mentor, John Edwards, on this project, and it was most rewarding. And I managed to bring a host of local talent to at least sample the experience of being on stage.
It was hard work to keep that ocean sound going on all through the play, I'll tell you the truth. I started to have these incredible neck cramps from holding my arms like this the whole time, but it was really nice and interesting experience for me to just feel the ocean and imagine the sounds of the sea and imitate them. And we knew it was going to be a very organic process. We weren't quite sure how it was going to play out, and that's what I really enjoy about a creative process, working with somebody like Mr. Trotta and just letting the process be open-ended and organic. It was
I use the word organic quite often in mounting this production because that's precisely how it felt. It was one of the best casts I ever worked with. What would otherwise have been considered a concession or compromise in other efforts more often felt like a discovery or development in Moby Dick.
A play is a play is a play. The people, doesn't matter where. Really doesn't matter where. And I tell people I have now an appreciation. It may be Bluefield Summit Theater, but the process is probably the same everywhere of putting on a show.
So I would encourage everyone, if you have the opportunity to be involved in a theatrical production, go for it. It can't hurt you. It can only allow you the opportunity to discover new parts about yourself. And creativity is pretty much the key to life.
I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't take it back.
Irregardless of what age, because I don't think age has to do with anything with this, is do it, try it. Just try it. Yeah, I think that the experience, the memory, the whole thing is.
It's not my place to interpret what a classic like Moby Dick was intended to share. As usual, my effort was to faithfully present the tale. As Ahab says, whether he be agent or principal, and I will not make that decision. Hello again. Well, it worked. Look at all that I've gotten to grow in the crevices of this rock, and elsewhere. I guess you'd have to play from the beginning to make the comparison. Well, anyway, that's what Summit Stage 2 has been doing the last couple of years. Good stuff. And since I spoke with you last, the DVD version of our stage adaptation of Moby Dick has come out, largely due to the efforts of the Summit Stage 2 cameramen and editors, Arden Hamrick, Josh Kerbway, David Burnside. They began by sifting through 80 hours of Animal Farm footage to put that project together, and then went on producing, filming our other productions. I look forward to working with them on Don Quixote. Summit Stage 2 is an important endeavor. It has the potential to do for Southern West Virginia what the Profile Theater did for Portland, Maine. When I and a few colleagues, actors that I had trained with, chose Portland as a new home to do plays, it was a struggling little harbor town in 1974. It was dependent on what the tugboats could push to the piers. But a town has a way of flourishing around its cultural center. So that when I returned just 4 years later to do another show, that little hardware store that we turned into a theater became a kind of centerpiece at one end of the village green, which, by the way, had gotten landscaped. There was a restaurant on one side of the theater. There was an antique shop on the other. And the harbor, I noticed, was dotted with sailboats alongside the tugs. It was beautiful. Bluefield reminded me a lot of Portland the first time I saw it. And that little theater, the Profile, has grown up to become the Portland Stage Company, a union house now, that folks drive to from over an hour away. It takes time for something like that to happen. It takes time. But it happens. I believe it can happen here. So this goes out to anyone who resonates or identifies with what Summit Stage 2 has been trying to do, especially if you're in any position to help or support us in any way. Thank you.